I never expected her to remember my name, let alone say anything that felt like it belonged to a memory I wasn't part of. Most mornings, I sat in the same corner of the laundromat 2 blocks from my apartment. The chairs were hard plastic, the floor always slightly damp, and the vending machine rattled like it was tired of working. I'd put my clothes in, sit down, and stare at my phone without really using it. Just scrolling up and down old chats I never sent anything to. She came in every Tuesday. At first, she was just someone older. My friend's mom. I'd seen her once or twice before at his house, standing in the kitchen, handing out tea, smiling politely. In the laundromat, she was different. No guests to impress. Hair tied loosely, sleeves rolled up, tired eyes that looked softer when the machines hummed. She always sat 2 chairs away from me. Attraction wasn't loud. It was small and embarrassing. It was the way my eyes moved without permission when she tucked her hair behind her ear. The way she folded clothes slowly, carefully, like she had time for things I rushed through. One morning, my machine stopped early. I didn't say anything. I just sat there pretending not to notice the silence. She leaned over slightly. "You're done," she said. Her voice was normal. Nothing special. Soft, maybe. Or maybe I just wanted it to be. "I know," I said, even though I hadn't stood up yet. That was the first real sentence we exchanged. After that, things became familiar. She started remembering which machine I used. I started folding my napkin from the vending machine coffee without realizing why. I'd flick my eyes toward her hands while she worked, then immediately look away. She joked once when my sock fell from the dryer. "You're losing battles," she said. I laughed too quickly. She laughed back, just under her breath. Outside of that place, my life was quiet. I'd type messages to friends and delete them. I'd stare at my screen waiting for a reply that never came. My phone stayed face down most of the time. It felt safer that way. One afternoon, she sat closer than usual. Her sleeve brushed mine. Neither of us moved. "You look tired," she said. "I don't sleep much," I admitted without planning to. She nodded like she understood. Like she used to not sleep much too. That day, when I stood up to leave, she said it. Not loudly. Not meant for anyone else. "You remind me of my younger days." I froze for half a second. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. My fingers fidgeted with the receipt in my hand. That night, I stared at my phone. I thought of her words. Thought of her hands folding clothes. Thought of how she never asked too much, never pushed. And then it happened. A message. Not from a number I recognized. Just a simple text. "It's me," from downstairs. "I found something you left." I stared at the screen for a long time before breathing again. I went downstairs slower than I needed to, like my legs were trying to think of reasons not to arrive. Her door was halfway open. Warm light from inside spilled into the hallway. I knocked anyway. She held up a forgotten hoodie. "Mine. You left this in the machine," she said, like it was nothing. "Thanks." I reached for it. Our fingers touched for a second too long. Or maybe just long enough to notice. Her apartment smelled like tea and something clean. Lemon, maybe. She stepped aside. "Come in for a minute," she said. "It's cold out there." I hesitated, then stepped inside. She poured tea into 2 cups. Didn't ask how I took it. Just handed it to me, like she somehow already knew. We sat at opposite ends of her small table, both leaning forward slightly, like we were narrowing a gap neither of us wanted to name. She looked down at the cup instead of at me. "I used to hate sleeping early," she said suddenly. I smiled. "I still do." She paused, then added, softer. "My husband used to say nights were for thinking." After he left, I started going to bed early. Like I was afraid of what I'd remember. Divorced. Or separated. The word stayed in my head, even though she didn't say it out loud. I nodded like I understood. I didn't. Not fully. But I wanted to. I told her something small in return. "I keep typing messages and deleting them," I said, staring into the steam. "Feels like talking without risking anything." She didn't laugh. Didn't judge. "That sounds lonely," she said. I thought about my friend. About her son. About how I'd sat at their dining table once, laughing at jokes that weren't really funny. I imagined someone walking in right now, seeing me here, in her kitchen, holding a cup she'd poured. My chest tightened a little. She reached across the table and fixed the twist in my hoodie string without thinking. A simple movement. Maternal, maybe. Or just human. Her fingers brushed my collarbone. She pulled back quickly, like she'd touched a wire. The silence after that wasn't uncomfortable. It was loud. We just sat there, listening to the tick of her old wall clock. The sound of the radiator working too hard. "You should go," she said quietly, but her eyes didn't say it. At the door, she handed me the hoodie again, freshly folded now. "You should be more careful," she said. "People lose things so easily." "I think I like when something comes back," I said without thinking. She smiled. Not wide, not playful, just something that stayed in my head long after. And as I stepped into the hallway, she said it lightly, like a joke that wasn't quite a joke. "Next time, don't wait for laundry to come see me." I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. The laundromat felt different after that. Not brighter, not warmer, just watched. She stopped coming on Tuesdays. The chair 2 seats away stayed empty. I kept glancing at it anyway, like my eyes were trained now. A habit I couldn't explain to anyone. I folded my clothes slower, checked my phone more, pretended I wasn't waiting for a message that never came. When she finally showed up again, it was on a Thursday. I almost didn't recognize the quiet way she moved. Hair tied tighter, sleeves down, distance built into her posture. "Hi," I said. "Hi," she replied, already turning to the machines. We stood too far apart. The air between us felt thin. "You changed your day?" I said. She nodded, not looking at me. "It's easier." Easier. The word sat between us, heavier than it should have been. A week later, my friend stopped by unexpectedly while I was at the corner store. He laughed too loudly, clapped my shoulder. "Mom's been weird lately," he said casually. "Keeps switching routines. Think she's just tired." I felt my face go still. I hoped he didn't notice. Back in the laundromat, she avoided sitting near me. When I moved closer, she stood up. When our eyes met, she looked away first. I imagined things. Her hand in mine. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. I hated myself for it, quietly. One evening, the power flickered. Machines went silent. Lights dim. Everyone else left. We stayed. She stood near the window. I stood near the door. Like two people pretending we weren't standing closer with every passing second. "You shouldn't sit with me anymore," she said suddenly. Not harsh, just tired. "Why?" I asked before I could stop myself. She pressed her fingers together. "A habit. Nervous. People talk," she said. I almost laughed. Who cared? But I didn't say it. "I don't," I said instead, too softly. She looked at me then. Finally. Her eyes were darker in the half-light. Silence stretched. Stretched too far. She stepped closer to fix the collar of my shirt. A reflex. A simple thing. Her hand lingered. I could smell her shampoo. Something clean. Something warm. My breath caught. I didn't move. Her thumb brushed my jaw. Not a kiss. Not a step back. Not forward either. Just pause. She leaned slightly. Stopped. Her lips near enough that I felt the air change. "You don't know what you're asking," she whispered, more to herself than to me. I could have closed the gap. I didn't. We stayed there, too close, not touching, and somehow that felt louder than anything. We ended up walking instead of talking. She said she needed air. I said I did too, even though I'd been indoors all day. We didn't plan it. Just drifted out of the building at the same time, the hallway light flickering behind us like a secret closing. The street was quiet. A bench near the old bus stop waited for us like it always had. We didn't sit close. We sat with distance that felt intentional. Her hands stayed folded in her lap. Mine stayed buried in my hoodie pockets like I was afraid they might do something on their own. "I saw you with her," she said. I blinked. "With who?" "That girl who waited outside the laundromat last week." "Oh, her. Just a neighbor girl who'd asked for the Wi-Fi password. 5 minutes. Maybe less. She was just asking for something," I said. She nodded, but I could see the crack in her calm. Small. Quiet. But there. "I don't like noticing things like that," she said. "It makes me feel." She stopped. Swallowed her words instead of finishing them. I leaned back against the bench. Looked at the ground, then the streetlight, then her hands. "You changed your days," I said. "You stopped sitting near me. You look at me like I'm something you're trying not to touch." She gave a small breath. Not a laugh. Not a sigh. Something in between. "You're not supposed to be this familiar," she said. There it was. No shouting. No crying. Just truth. Finally said like it hurt to hold in. She looked at the road instead of at me. I try to act like you're just, she paused, searching, next door noise. Just someone passing through. I said it without thinking. But you don't. Her jaw tightened. That was her breaking point. Not loud. Just visible. I'm not young, she said. And I'm not confused. I know how this looks. I know how dangerous it is. You're my son's friend. You have a future that hasn't. She stopped herself. I leaned forward without realizing it. Elbows on knees. Closer. You think I don't know? I said quietly. I think about it too. Every stupid detail. How wrong it sounds. How much easier it would be if you were just nobody to me. Silence fell in slow pieces. Her knuckles turned white where they rested on her coat. Then, barely above a whisper, I stopped myself from calling you. That was it. That was the confession without the word confess. Not, I like you. Not, I want you. Just this. She turned her head toward me for the first time in a while. Her eyes weren't panicked, just tired of carrying it alone. We sat closer now. Not touching, but close enough. So close that if either of us moved, it would be something else. Her voice came again, softer. Tell me what you think I should do. Not a demand. Not a request. A moment hanging in the air, like breath held before a fall. And I didn't answer. Not yet. Same machine. Same chair. Same corner of the laundromat. I folded my napkin around the cheap coffee cup without thinking, then unfolded it, then folded it again. A nervous habit I'd picked up without noticing when it started. She didn't come. I told myself it was nothing. New routine, maybe. Busy. Maybe she just slept in. The second week, she still didn't come. Her door stayed closed downstairs. Light off. Hallway quiet. I stopped walking past her apartment on purpose. Then started doing it accidentally. Then started doing it on purpose again. I imagined reasons. She got scared. She got smart. She got tired of carrying both sides of the silence. At the grocery store, my friend showed up behind me in line. He looked lighter, happier. Mom's been thinking about moving, he said, like he was talking about weather. Moving? I asked too fast. Yeah, not far. Just smaller place. Fresh start crap, you know? Fresh start. Something in my chest folded in on itself quietly. That night, I typed a message to her. Did I do something wrong? Deleted it. Typed again. You don't have to answer. I just deleted that too. I imagined knocking on her door. Her surprised face. Her tired smile. Her hands, folded together like she was holding herself still. But I didn't. 3 days later, I finally ran into her in the stairwell. She looked different. Hair shorter. Or maybe I'd never paid attention enough before. A small box in her hands. Hi, I said. Hi. She replied, like we just met. I hated that. You're moving? I asked. She nodded. Why? It slipped out before I could make it softer. She didn't answer right away. Just adjusted the box in her hands. I was engaged once, she said finally. Before I married my son's father. A long time ago. He was younger than me. The words felt like cold water. It didn't end quietly, she added. It just never really ended. It followed me into everything else. So that was the thing she'd never said. The older wound. The thing that made this feel like history repeating itself. I wanted to say something. Anything. Something brave. Something clean. I didn't. She smiled at me, small and careful. Take care of yourself, she said. That night, I opened our message thread again. Typed, I don't feel wrong when I'm near you. I stared at it so long the screen dimmed. Then I turned my phone face down. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. And the chair 2 seats away stayed empty. I didn't mean to carry her old hoodie with me. It was still folded on my chair days after she moved. Smelled faintly like lemon and detergent, and something that felt like a memory I didn't earn. I kept telling myself I'd throw it away. Or return it if she ever came back. Or leave it downstairs and let it become someone else's problem. Instead, I folded it and walked. Her new building was quieter. Smaller. The kind of place that didn't echo much when you knocked. I stood at her door for a long time. Long enough to almost walk away. Then I knocked. Footsteps. A pause. A small click. She opened the door like she'd already guessed it would be me. You didn't have to, she said. I know, I answered. We stood there, doorway holding both of us apart. Her hair was still shorter. Her eyes looked tired in a softer way, like she'd been tired for years and finally stopped pretending not to be. I found this, I said, holding up the hoodie. She touched the fabric, then my fingers. Not accidental. Not dramatic either. Come in, she said. Her kitchen was smaller than the old one. Cleaner. Like someone trying to outgrow things. We didn't sit right away. We just stood there. The refrigerator humming. A clock ticking somewhere I couldn't see. You shouldn't have followed me, she said quietly. I almost didn't, I replied. That was true. I'd practiced leaving in my head all morning. She leaned against the counter, folded her arms, unfolded them. I'm not safe company, she said. I looked at the floor, then back at her hands. I'm not asking for safe, I said. I just don't want to pretend you don't exist. That did something to her. A small crack. A breath she hadn't meant to take. She nodded once. You're too young, she said. I know. A beat. You're my son's friend. I know that too. Silence. Real silence. The kind that feels like truth sitting on the table between two people. Then she said it. Not loud. Not fragile. I think about you when I can't sleep. The room felt smaller after that. I stepped closer. Not rushing. Not claiming. I think about you when I'm trying not to, I answered. She let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, but wasn't. Her fingers brushed my wrist. A simple touch. Human. We didn't kiss. We didn't cross that line. But she squeezed my hand once, like she needed to know I was real. Okay, she said. And it wasn't permission. It wasn't rejection. It was just something alive and honest between us. We never talked about it in big sentences after that. Not what are we? Not where is this going? Not promises. Life just adjusted. She kept her mornings. I kept my quiet habits. And somehow our routines started to overlap in a way that didn't feel forced anymore. It was winter when it finally felt normal. 8:47 a.m. became a quiet meeting point without being named. Not in the laundromat anymore. That place felt too heavy. We'd walk instead. To the small park near the cracked sidewalk. The bench that still leaned a little to the left. She brought tea in a thermos. I brought black coffee that always tasted burnt. We never teased each other about it. Just traded cups sometimes without asking. Her hand would brush mine on the bench. Sometimes she moved away. Sometimes she didn't. We stopped keeping score. Her son came by less often. Life moved forward in its own uneven rhythm. There were things we didn't fix. Things we didn't name. And somehow that's what made it feel honest. Weeks passed. Then months. She never moved back to the old building. I never asked her to. She said she liked the way this place felt smaller. Like it matched the way she was learning to live. She started sleeping better. I stopped deleting every message I typed. We didn't look like a story people would talk about. There were no hands held in public. No big scenes. Just quiet presence. Shared silence. The kind that doesn't feel empty. One morning, she laughed at the way I folded my napkin without realizing it. You still do that, she said. I looked down at my hands. Unfolded it. Smiled. On the bench, wind moved through the trees and she leaned her shoulder against mine. Not heavy. Not light. Just enough. You feel calmer, she said. So do you, I replied. She took a sip from my coffee without asking. Made a face. Still terrible, she added. I didn't fix the recipe. Didn't want to. Because some things don't need fixing. They just need time. Sometimes she still looked away when someone passed by. Sometimes I still wondered what would have happened if we'd been braver sooner. But the wondering stopped hurting. It turned soft. Like old light through a window. And once, quietly, while we sat on that bench, she brushed her fingers against mine and said, almost to herself, You remind me of who I forgot I was. I understood. Because she reminded me too.